All right guys, so this is a 2015 Ram with the 6.7 liter Cummins in it, and we're about to put the Boss Hoss Banks Monster Ram air intake on this bad boy. As you can see, they have all the intricate pieces that you need. The only additional thing that it calls for in the instructions that you probably won't have is this right here. Now it says for 3M77, I have 90. That's what I'm going to use, but that is to put on this gasket later on in the process. But it comes with pretty much everything else you need, even a thread locker. So as you can see, we have the entire kit laid out. I have majority of my tools prepped up, ready to go, and my work surface work area is currently prepped and ready for surgery. So we're about to dig into this. I've got my instructions right here ready to go. Follow along as I go to make sure I don't miss anything, but this should be pretty straightforward. So we're going to be taking this bad boy off, taking this tube off to get out of the way, moving these, and then all these different electrical connectors. You got this rubber isolator for the fuel rail, and then you got to take the fuel rail off, all except for one, and then in instructions it says to pull it up, lift up out of the way so that you can get your plate out. So should be fun. So yeah, let's see how long this takes. So part of the first phase is done. We got the batteries disconnected on both sides. I didn't have to take this little bracket off because it was already taken off and some previous work that I've done. But I've got the wiring loom off of this side over here to bring over to this side. I've got these two connections done so that I can take this wiring harness off. The next step is to take this cross tube off and then start getting the horn out. See it down there. Got to fish that out. So that right there is reused, and one fell down there too. So make sure you don't lose those. You'll reuse them. All right, so I got the old air intake off. I got to take off the throttle body to put it on the new one. The cross tube from the EGR, the EGR valve itself. And this is what it looks like at this point. So for your intake tube, just take a towel or some sort, use the clamp to hold it in place so you don't get trash down in your intake tube. And this is your culprit. So this is your grid heater. This is the cable that provides power to your grid heater. This all around here is kind of like plastic and aluminum, and then you got this one little steel bolt. When that bolt decides it doesn't want to work anymore, it's going to fall down into your cylinders, and there you go. So that's why we're doing all this, but we're making pretty good timing. It's a little intimidating at first, but it's really not that bad.
Yourself loose. I was mesmerized by your eyes.
So we've made it to the point of getting ready to start pulling the fuel rail off. I've got the wiring harness out of the way. I got the dipstick out of the way. I've got all of my fuel lines marked. The instructions say to mark these on this little insert that goes into the head. You don't want this insert to move when you start taking these collars off the fuel lines, because if you do and it starts moving, then you take a chance of getting leaks. So got all that marked, ready to go. The fuel line is ready to come out, and it comes with these little plugs so that you can plug these into the fuel rail as you take the fuel lines off, to keep from getting trash down into your fuel rail. So next is it's gonna get nasty. Good thing I got gloves. Make sure you wear gloves with this one, because there's nothing worse than having fuel on your hands, because you can't get the smell off. So this one started moving when I started pulling this on this nut. So now I need to use a 24 millimeter to hold the insert in place while I break this one free. So let's see how this goes, because there's not a whole lot of room in here. Alright, so that worked out. Alright, as you can see, we got the fuel rail off, we got the plate off, we got all the fuel lines capped off, ready to go. There's the old plate. This is what we're working with. These are the plastic pieces that kind of break off, and then it drops that bolt down into the cylinder. So luckily this one isn't as brittle. Even though I got 180 something thousand miles on the truck, it held up surprisingly. But we're gonna put the new stuff on. Problem: this is the fuel pressure sensor for the fuel rail, and it decided it didn't want to be in existence anymore. The problem with that is that the dealership is closed. The part stores do not carry this part, and it's Saturday. So we're going to get creative with repairing this. All right, guys, so getting to that little flare nut right there is kind of a pickle. I ended up having to use a flare nut wrench along with a regular combination wrench just to get it loose enough to spin it up out of the way. So if you don't have access to a lot of tools, you may have to get a little more creative, because there's very little room in there to work with. So just take your time, come up with a good solid game plan, and then go from there. After a little bit of researching and realizing that me epoxying this part back in is not going to work, because I went back into the engine bay and found this little bad boy. So we fast forwarded at this point to a week later, and I've ordered the part. So I ordered this part from Amazon. It is $26 from Amazon, $1,000 from the dealership. So you do the math, and yeah, so I'm taking a huge gamble in this part working or not working, knowing that I have to take all of this back off to get to this because of where this is at. on the back of the engine bay. So it's all the way back here. And it has to be torqued down to 52 foot-pounds. There is no way that anybody's going to get in there with a torque wrench and torque it down to 52 foot-pounds. So that means I have to take this off, the fuel rail off, all this stuff has to come out of the way so that I can get this part on. So yeah, I mean, if nothing else, it's just practice. We'll see what happens. All right, so had some issues. Couldn't figure out why it kept turning over and wouldn't start. Come to find out, that little line right there, when I broke it loose, I forgot to go back and tighten it back up. So make sure that you go back in second, third, fourth order effect. Make sure that everything is tight before you try to start it up. But yeah, we're good to go now. Finally done. Alright, so I took it on a little shakedown run. Not much of anything tonight. I'll probably take it again tomorrow, but it seems like it needs to be driven a little bit to adapt to the new settings. Sounds a little funny. It did take a few turnovers before it actually started. I'll let you guys know how this works out later on, but for now, I'm signing off. I'll see you guys in the next video.